Hey, what's going on, everybody? So I want to talk about one player Brian Gutekunst recently talked about in a press conference when sort of asked about the Packers tight end situation, because I think some people might believe right now that when we look at this Packers tight end room that we may need to add some more depth here. But honestly, I think when we look at what we have here and what the Packers sort of showed us by not drafting a tight end in the draft and by not adding a UDFA who is a tight end, I think it sort of shows you that the Packers are pretty satisfied right now with their current tight end situation. So I want to discuss that. But first off here, looking at the player that Brian Gutekunst mentioned in his press conference when sort of asked about the tight end situation in this past week. Here is his exact quote. He says, "Tyler Davis, we picked up early in the year, and as his opportunities grew not only in the games but in practice, think we really have something there, so I'm excited about that." So Tyler Davis, someone who didn't really play too much until week 14 and on. He comes in later in the year, plays a little bit of tight end for the Packers with, of course, Robert Tonyan earlier in the season tearing his ACL. The Packers needed to rely on some more, different players there. Tyler Davis, previously a 6th-round draft pick by the Jaguars. So if we take a look at his stats and also all the other tight end stats as well, I have the stats up right here. So this is all Packers receiving stats, but I want to scroll down and sort of show you the Packers tight end production, sort of how they produce. As you can see, Tyler Davis, very, very far at the bottom there, only had 5 targets. So maybe, does Brian Gutekunst think he can produce more than that? I would assume so. But the thing is, too, when you look at the rest of these Packers tight ends, we see Josiah DeGuara was the number 1 targeted tight end, 33 targets, 25 receptions, 245 receiving yards. Robert Tonyan, 29 targets. Of course, he goes down with the injury, so he definitely would have led the tight ends if not having the injury. Marcedes Lewis, 28 targets. And then, Tyler Davis, 5. Dominique Dafney at the bottom with 4 receptions. So I do sort of wonder what Tyler Davis could become. I think, though, when you look at the fact that Robert Tonyan will likely be back, when the season starts, I don't see him having a crazy role, even though Brian Gutekunst does seem to be somewhat excited about him. But I'm not exactly sure if he's going to, have more targets than Josiah DeGuara, and definitely not than Robert Tonyan. But if we do take a look at his college stats, he never produced at a crazy level in college. As you can see here at Connecticut, then moving to Georgia, the most receiving yards he ever had was 237. He did have 6 TDs back in 2018. But I hope Tyler Davis can, become more for this Packers team, and we'll see if he has what it takes to do that. But I think right now, when we look at this Packers tight end situation, the Packers didn't use a draft pick on a tight end, as I stated. They didn't sign a UDFA, an undrafted free agent, who was a tight end as well. And so what I think that shows you is that the Packers are pretty confident in Robert Tonyan, signing him to a 1-year deal that could be worth up to $5.5 million with incentives. And so with Robert Tonyan coming back, with him being, I think, a really solid tight end in 2020, he had, where are the stats here? I wrote it down somewhere. In 2020, Robert Tonyan had 586 yards and 11 touchdowns, which ranked some of the highest when it comes to touchdowns in the NFL for tight ends. And he was a monster for the Packers in the red zone in 2020 when he was healthy the entire season. So it seems like Robert Tonyan should be ready by the time this season starts, coming into 2022. And with that being the case, I think the Packers are fully confident in him producing at an elite level. And then when you look at Robert Tonyan, the other depth pieces the Packers have, still with Marcedes Lewis, still with Josiah DeGuara, Dominique Dafney, and Tyler Davis. I think the Packers have plenty at tight end. Maybe we would add someone else. I just don't understand why we would, considering all the different tight ends on this roster. But I think Robert Tonyan is going to come back and get back to the previous way that he was playing. So I'm not worried at all about this Packers tight end room, their situation, and I think the Packers aren't as well, not spending any capital or free agents on a tight end. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on the Packers' current tight end situation. But that is all I have for this one. Subscribe if you guys want to see more Packers content. But that is all for right now, and I'll see you guys next time.